So let's just keep this going. Obviously, there's a lot being transmitted today, and we're talking about some massive stuff because there's been a massive upgrade. I have actually banned only one person from the chat box only for being a pessimist. I just would tell people, look, because some people are always, they're just so paranoid. It's like, oh, maybe it was because this, maybe because this. Look, if we have to go take it over somewhere else, we got to go Blog Talk Radio. If we have to go on the phone, we have to get on one of these 1-800 number chat lines and still continue to chop it up. If we have to get tin cans with straws in them, we're still going to be talking about this consciousness. And then even till it gets to the point where we only have to use the frontal lobe to project the light code, which is a lot more efficient. You know, it actually costs a lot less current these days, meaning I don't have to actually hook up all of this stuff and be all in here trying to transmit something. I can just give it to you, as many people have seen me in the dream. So let's go ahead and get started again. I'm going to go ahead and start taking calls again and see how that works and see if we can keep going. Someone did let me know that there was a difference between the caller's voice and my voice, and that's because the callers often have different types of audio. So when I take a call, or if I do take your call, if you're listening, I need you to wait a moment or start talking a little bit, but just let us adjust your sound very briefly, or no, I'm going to adjust your sound. Man, I got to let you take a look at that mantle bulb, though. Jeesh. Oh, my goodness. Ugh. The intricacies. Hold on real quick. Let me just take a moment of silence. Oh. Wow. I love what these things look like from the outside. That's what I was saying before. Everything's about perspective. Sometimes when you're inside of one of these things, it's just awfully ugly. When you're on the outside, you're like, oh my goodness, super cities. I mean, superpowers. Of course, in the Hindu tradition, the word cities, S-I-D-D-H-A-S, means powers and abilities. So they turn around in the U.S. and name everything cities where all the people are, a little low on the powers and abilities that we're looking for. That's why we want to, of course, increase that. Okay, that's enough. All right, and some people are like, man, come on, man, let's get into the conversation, man. This is the conversation. Just, okay, all right. All right, here we go. So, callers, let's do this. Okay, so the number is on the screen, 585-653-6979. And not all at one time. We had like a zillion callers just a minute ago. I wonder if this thing has run out of something. There's like a... It's like an exclamation mark here. Okay, here we go. Caller from unknown number. Wholeness.
Wholeness 7.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, it's Mike here. Guys of Fire Dreaming in the core.
Out there in Hawaii. What's up, Mike?
Oh, man. Tuning into the transmission, brother. Thanks.
All right. What you got on your mind?
Something, I want to keep it short and let you... The galactic core, I had this, when you remind us of it, the inside out, I'm just looking at it. Are we on a concave world and we're on the inside? And the galactic core is actually, through the sun up there, but it's, you know what I mean? Not outside, but it's inside again. I'm getting this feeling. And then when you tune into the core, you remember it's everywhere. Could you kind of shine some light on that perspective?
Man, for sure, man. I don't know if it was about 2 weeks ago or a week ago, man, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, I'm really starting to feel what this whole holographic thing is really like, because we got this sun sitting out there, but it's actually inside of a bigger universe that's like an envelope, like a donut. Then I got this other central core, of course, right underneath my feet, but inside of its own donut. Then I got one inside of me, and it's sitting there right inside the donut, and I'm like, man, this is like world within worlds. Indeed, it's like there is a complete connection. And this is interesting because, again, I explained it earlier about how one person's idea can be used. Like if I even use a light bulb, or I use whatever, a certain kind of system, calculator, phone, or whatever, to do something, to jump off my next idea, like that's the whole collective idea. And so this is this whole intertwining. So when we see this lattice work, then every bit of like lace, there's so many connections in between everything, it's making it solid. So I'm literally explaining the coming together of string theory, is that there's so many strings. It is indeed making it solid. And all those different connections, like I said, and then when we see this, we've connected it with the soul or with the sun and these different, those master core components, right? So then you can imagine how far the realities are sprayed out that are depending on that energy and sustaining itself on that energy in some way or another. And then the most efficient are the most smallest, right? Because all the atoms, quarks, neutrons, nanoparticles, all those things carry immense levels of energy, but are in extreme stages of preservation of that energy, right? And so, I'm sure that, it's true that even a human being at this state of stature is every bit of what you would call a titan, as far as the size of some of the much more communicative forms, because where they're moving through is they're moving through the pores of the reality. The spaces within spaces have these pores or tubes in them. And this is the other thing, like when you look at even the division symbol again, right? And then you puff it up into 3D, because you know how everything looks different when you have that mind that can turn it into a 3D shape. Like I've even seen now symbols that when I see them as shadows or holes, then I'm able to see the worlds that they lead to behind them. It's, a strange phenomenon, but let's just take the division symbol and puff it up. We get two balls or two globes, and then we get this tube, right, instead of a straight line. And hopefully everyone can still hear me. And then so that tube is time, right? So the only thing dividing these two souls, or these two, spirit and soul, is time. So this means that in time, we will eventually get to the soul force. And that's why I was also saying earlier that, there was no need in suspecting that you would not reach it. But the whole thing is what time. And so now that we see that time is this tube, then we know we know what time is and its purpose. We know what it's shaped like. We know how to then even remove it and then even go back into it. And so, this is I think personally, like, sometimes I believe that what's actually happening here is that, now this stuff, it definitely is very potent. It sounds like something very massive, and I'm sure it's going to change things massively. But I have this feeling that back in the ancient times, when they weren't even talking about this kind of stuff, there was still the equivalent of that level of energy of how it makes us feel to hear something like that. But it may have been something like, hey, if we rub this rock onto this wall, it leaves this color on the wall of the rock. And then we could just take all these different rocks and make this mosaic of different colors. And then someone's like, dang, man, this is it. Like, this is it. This is the next level. And so this is what I believe is this enjoyment, when you can get into it, the enjoyment of the growth of humanity. If we weren't always trying to grow up so fast, it's like the same thing our parents may have or may not have been telling us. But, because these days we got some different kind of parents. But back in the day, the parents said, you need to slow down. Slow it down, young. And you need to, you don't need to grow up so fast. Enjoy being a kid. And so the reality is with this world that we're living in is that, because of our negative experiences here becoming so much that we can't control, we're forced to become adepts. Because other than that, this is completely malleable. We were running around with the monkeys and the birds and some stuff and some potions, and it was like that. You see what I mean? And so that's why I keep seeing, in a certain sense, this meaning to this fire, okay? And this is every bit of the images of it. And I started realizing, obviously, father is fire, because what happened is that, I guess, Hitler was talking about this fatherland, right? Because I guess he was diametrically opposed to the motherland, because obviously Russia was the motherland, Africa was the motherland, and this was all of what they just got tired of hearing. So they love the fatherland, but they knew that the father was fire. And that's why he called himself the Führer, which means fire, right? And then the fire is fear, the fire is pain, and took the world through a stage that, oh my goodness, like people are still really, really spiritually defunct because of the situation. Like we can map out certain things that have taken place in our reality on a physical level, but if we don't have the connection to see that was us then, just in other bodies, still encapsulated, still incubating, then we can't actually connect all the real truth about it, which is obviously 100% that we experience the most torrential part of our existence in order for us to understand the other side. Like, it's like, look, remember there's a fire. They're over there right now. In the south, there's a lot of fire down there. The Kundalini is hot. And you could get into a conflict. There's a lot of anger, a lot of pent up energy, a lot of toxins. And this is because the upper worlds, the north, because I didn't tell you, like earlier we were talking about the north, and I didn't say the north was all good and all this. I'm telling you, it's not a good or evil thing. We're doing all of this. So even in the north, when we put something in our mouth, that's why the north is responsible for feeding the south, right? All of our foods, all the agriculture, all the knowledge for the agriculture, all the development of the highways and byways, the computers, the GPSs and all that. Where's all that coming from? It's all being, where do you think all the computers are being hosted from? They're all being hosted from the north. So, because that's like the brain or the command center. There's one master computer there. You see what I mean? So that's handling import-export, but what is it giving all of the different spaces in the body? The same thing that people on the planet are giving their body. So this is where the mirror becomes weird, because even juggernauts staring into the mirror of a human being can become that human being rather than the juggernaut. It's like no matter how magnificent you are, there's always a fascination with another part of yourself. So this creates infinity because there's always some new differentiation. We specialize in creating differentiations. We're not sitting in that one strand DNA where there's no differentiation. We've taken the leap. We've gone into two. That's why they say, they're going to die in there. This means that when we first came in this, we were not scared because we knew we were going to die. And then somehow we saw in that death some kind of great level of expansion, and we were willing to gamble that that was true, because that's when the games begin. And so to me, like even when I see the chalice, I was looking last night at the ancient symbols and what they meant. The chalice is actually the same as the horns of the auroch. And remember, this is a female cow with horns. It's a symbolism of the womb that was used to bring the first mammalians. You got milk. I mean, she's sitting there with udders. So what is really going on? Is it just because we're so compartmentalized, right? So this is the kind of things this decompartmentalizes me. I look at it and say, man, you know what? I see spraying fields of infinitude, and I'm over here complaining about, just how long it's going to take the expansion to actually take place, because everyone thinks that there's no other space beside the one that we're in. So then we got a small tank effect. You got this fish that can grow big. This is the soul. Well, you're still calling the spirit. But it's in this little bitty tank. Just like next door neighbor, this person, that person, cubes on top of cubes. And, if you spin off of it, then you actually see what's really going on. And then in each crevice, you got life teeming in the corners, because life develops in corners. That's where mold accumulates. And the people who are superstitious say, oh, don't make there's even places, there's no corners in the place. They say, oh, no, because the devil can hide there. Look, they're talking about the energy that is used as the ferment or foundation, aka dark matter, to create everything, does so in a womb. And some people say, oh my goodness, these demons. But then never realize that's how we developed. Looking at the sound here. That's how we develop. We develop in this womb with this incubation and all this goo. And then we come out and then act like we ain't from the goo. This is crazy. Like, that's why I said, I don't want no part of it. I don't care what everyone else is doing. I don't care whose kind of authority, what kind of magician power, whatever. Not on my watch. I won't be the one. I'll be the exclusion. If everyone goes and they actually go to a greater place, I'm just going to be sitting there and I'm going to be comfortable, because I'm going to say, well, it didn't look right to me. I scanned it against everything. It was going to drive me more crazy to not believe that something else much more greater was taking place and we were being held back from it. So I kept digging. And guess what? Like I heard somebody the other day say, oh, it's about money to him. Do you look at the first episode of the first episode that we've ever did that we broadcasted live, like with some kind of cameras in there, because for a while, 6 months, maybe 4 or 6 months, I didn't get on cameras, right? But the interesting thing is that was 4 or 6 months in, there was no products, there was no nothing. We only added that as a component to assist people to expand. But go to the first video and see where I'm at then, and then look in the background and tell me if it looks like that it was about money, meaning that I was somehow in need of it. Like, what this is really about is this is about your emancipation. And it just so happens that most people don't even believe that they can emancipate unless they see someone that looks like they may emancipate it themselves. But the chakra in which they're looking from is strictly physical. It needs to see it vividly. And before it starts to, become something where the individual wants to do. So I appreciate you calling, Mike, because you always open the channel real properly to Hawaii. And that's what I believe that actually happens, is that when we connect, and it's us connecting, it's not these phones, right? Like, phones are not, they're I won't call them inorganics because they're made out of atoms, but they're made out of slow-moving atoms, which are called plastic. But when the humans get together and they start to push something down those pipelines, you see what I mean? That's the massive connection, because it opens up 2 areas. There's a connection. There's a connection right into the environment of where he is. And I explained this to people before when we were talking about Dimitri and the stage that I was in, where all of a sudden I ended up getting on the wrong frequency. This was before I started to understand this stuff a lot more. I'm deep in fringe most of the time, but still by myself. And what happened was that I felt these weird energies come in, and there was red pyramids everywhere. And these beings had red pyramids as their heads. And I immediately went into, there's a whole nother level I'll go into, and I need to gear up to show, okay, it's going to be a rough one right here then. And then, but I had, because I was in this stage, and then inhaled them. So I actually seen the whole process. It's when you actually even acknowledge they're there. They're there, but you don't have to acknowledge that they're there. This is very deep levels of your own intrinsic movement of your mind, where you can look at something but not actually load it that, hey, that's that. It happened the last show for about 7 minutes. I was looking at that picture, and instead of thinking about what I was looking at, all of a sudden the mind had taken the entire picture as one whole image or block or symbol and put it all in and just started saying what it meant. And so this created a zone effect. So I'm watching it step by step. Remember, I'm the guinea pig here. I'm the one that's in here doing it, saying it. And what I say ultimately and what I do ultimately will rest on me. And I'm fully aware of that. And I'm not taking advantage of that. I'm staying in tune. And I'm saying to myself, sometimes they say, man, this is going too far. I have to throw those ideas in there sometime to just balance out my system. Man, how you can't keep doing this forever. And then to bounce back off my other side of myself and say, man, what is it with you and the forever thing? Like, these are, first of all, these are all segments. Each of your chakras are going through this process every time. That's why it's shaped like infinity, the system, right? It's a spiral shaped like infinity. It's going like this, right? And then here's 1, 2, 3. See, we had to give it numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so when that happens with the chakra centers, each of those stages that you're going through there's in the end, there's a test. That's what happens. They test you on the lessons in order to see if you're ready. They is your oversoul, ready to go on to the next chakra. And so the biggest test is, can you give it up? Can you give up the chakra? Can you give up what you gained? Can you give up your so-called doctor's degree, your so-called master's degree, in hopes of learning something that will be more expansive? This is like the conversation between a well-versed holistic practitioner and a doctor that's been in for 30 years in the books, right? Still not even out yet, can get ready to go in for a surgeon. And then the holistic comes and tells him a whole nother way. This is when he reaches 7. If you want to know on the astronomical scale between 1 and 10, he reaches 7. Y'all debate. Meaning that the actual energy is in a stage where it has to make its transmutation. So instead of looking at me, I'm lessening all of this. I make my transmutations. When I first started this, They kept the name 7. They keep calling me that, but I was right on the cusp of going to 8. And I went to 8 by dissolving my other life. That's why nobody's heard about it. It's stuff that people would brag about. But I talk about the childhood and the stuff that was there, but as far as the money and all that stuff, it's not necessary. Right? Because I ate it. And I digested it. It was hard, bitter medicine. This is you have to, because of course, nobody wants to give up everything they have for something greater, right? Except for those who are the most adept in the game. Okay? They know that, look, they say, what do you got in your cars, right? You're sitting across from the table, gambling with life. All right? Sitting across the table, gambling with life. Okay? You know you got a full house. The other person sitting over there, the competitor, they don't know what you have. They're just gambling now you lose. And then, instead of slamming the full house down and saying that you can win, you throw all 5 cards back. Nobody even knows that was already a full house. You could have won then. You're so confident. Then they go and deal you out one again. And it's an even more powerful hand. This is what it's like to go through chakras, people. You sitting in there, I don't play poker, but I guess royal flush. All of these sound like one more better than the other. Royal flush. You're sitting there with the royal flush. The same thing is approached to you again. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's the 7th point of the chakra. Then you go, the 7th point of each chakra. Then you got to go to the 8. You got to say, you know what? Deal me in again. And this means that then you're stripped, right? So this is, of course, the path of Inanna. She's stripped of all her jewels, stripped of everything, right? To see if when all of what you think you have is gone, are you still that person? Are you still there? You have to make your lowest low still the world's highest high. For them to debase you would only be to create something even greater than you are now. For them to put you into solace, for those who have fear of solace and being alone, would only mean that you will cultivate and incubate even more to come out with the strength of 1,000, what is in a crucible, which comes forth 1,000-fold. Constantly reassuring yourself with the mantra of physics. Reassuring yourself with the mantras even of English, boundless, no boundaries, no borders, no certificates, no passports, no hinging, no measurements, no geometry, no movement. I'm motionless. Okay? Because motionless, as I explained before, was the name in the indigenous cultures. When you translate it into our language, it means motionless, without motion. All those who are moving with waves, those are where every action there's going to be reaction. There's always going to be something. And again, we're not talking about which one's better or worse, so that you can figure out you're inside the one that's in motion and then beat yourself up. Well, I'm here. We're talking about getting out of the pin. Let me check the sound. Here we go. Out of the pin, out of the pentagram, out of the 5-base body, out of the starman. See, because here's another reason why they use the pentagram. On the astral plane, humans are as a flaming fire because the flesh is passion. It is slowed down light. Okay? And so, but on the astral plane, it appears like a blazing fire because fire is slowed down light. Fire is not the highest heat, everyone. Go into a centrifuge. You see there's a heat there. You can't even see it. It just, and it's way beyond fire. It's like the difference between smoking and vaporizing. It's a whole different kind of heat, okay? So there's a different stage of the process. So those who go through the greatest stages of the purification, which is like the crucible here on the planet, there's a cross on it, the symbol of death. Like, look, when they put the skull and crossbones on something, it's death. Don't go there, it's poison. So on the dimension, the symbol is a cross on earth. Okay, so that means death. You will die. You will divide here. So then you got these beings, me, you, and everyone else listening to the podcast. I'm going to dive into it. Some other people be like, are you crazy? You're going into death? Are you scared? I'm not scared if you guys go with me. You see, like there's this kind of thing going on. Like it was all about the adventure. It was all about the excitement. When you're immortal, the idea that you may die was almost fascinating because it's like, what do you mean? There's another antithesis to what I am? I am immortal. No, there's a place you can die. Stop. Serious. This place called Earth. It means dirt. What? Are you serious? Yeah. All right, well, load me in. Because you have to realize, like, that's why our most advanced stages of consciousness, because if you say you go to the future, that means that the future is still there, meaning that somehow this survived. But here's the thing about this thing, people thinking they're going in the future, because I've been in the future. Take things from the future, bring it here, and use it here. Figure out the crossover, put the GUI on it, meaning the GUI that makes it allows us to understand what was going on there from here in the future that survived. So remember where you're going. If you go somewhere and you perceive it to be the future, that means that we survived. Now I'm going to tell you that the system that we're using here doesn't make it to the future. It didn't. The oil, those things, it collapsed everything like it's doing now. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I don't have to be Daniel over here trying to have a dream about something, right? I'm telling you that the way that things being run, it's not working out. So we have no choice. Either we die slowly or we go into the next stage of our consciousness. Now, I don't think I speak for black people right now. Because black people generally, when they find out that that's the kind of game that we're playing here now, they snap into it. So I'm hoping that all other color spectrums has just at least seen the entire plight of a race that has had everything stolen from them. That at the end of the day, if one of those beings can get back up and say, man, let's take this whole thing to the next level, all of us, that was it. We achieved it. That was the next stage. To really be selfless, to see everything as yourself, all is self. This is the highest maxim. To see only what you've been given as what is being required from you. Don't play the game. When someone comes and drops off a lot of knowledge, be like, yo, what do you want me to do with that? What are you doing with that? What are we trying to do with that? And it's like, yo, you know, this is the knowledge. It's like, hold on, because last time I checked, anytime you get the knowledge, that means you get this job, and you have to start giving the information and knowledge. You have to start bridging to all this other stuff. So make sure you know what you're getting involved in. You want to be a teacher. You want to take that title. Do you want to bear the penalty of leadership? Right? If you don't know what you're talking about, and that's why we said we got to write the book Masters for Masters, so that every frequency can perfect itself, so that it can tri-merge all of the domains and dimensions, right? See, because if you understand the spectrum is also about feelings. Those who've had less feelings because they didn't have anything to cause feelings bear a certain spectrum. This is because their entire life path hasn't actually even hit what we would call the rut, which is the opposite side of the spectrum. To realize the truth of the entire matter. When you lose loved ones, when you lose a whole culture, when you lose civilization, and you actually living in a world where the ones that are like you have experienced that. So now everyone is on the line from all color spectrums are able to say, look at your race, your biorhythm, your color spectrum, your spectrum that you were supposed to be holding up, and take account for what condition is it in, and has not the worlds already collapsed? Because when the worlds are together, they connect, so thus they communicate. When the worlds collapse, that only means no communication, because remember, it's only one or two. Let's break it back simple. Build or destroy. Collapse is destroying. This means a world of division, dividing. So I don't even want to hear the reason. I don't want to hear the being. I don't want to hear what the being's done. I don't want to hear the drama. All I want to hear is, oh, yo, you ultraviolet light, full energy spectrum. Let's get him out of here. Next. Oh, you're a big guy. All right, let's see if we can get you down to a quirk. You see? And this is also synonymously what people that even work on just the physical level do to people who have damaged themselves or let themselves go or gotten hurt so far. But they train you. They don't give you what person's going to work out for you? Like you're in the gym, the trainer's working out for you, you're getting big. No, it doesn't work like that. So realize a teacher, that's what the T, it's a trainer, not the crutch, the genie in the bottle, the one who's going to save you, none of this kind of stuff. And that's what we talked about. It's either the man or the mission. I choose the mission. So let's go ahead and take some calls. And that was probably the bulk of the show, but I'm just excited today. Even though I got this blessed blood vessel in my head, it may be in fact doing something. So, okay, Mike, I know we still had you on the line, so you got a chance to get you didn't get the lag. You didn't get the 3-second lag. Not that, it's that less potent, but that's what's up, brother, man. So I do. Go ahead.
One thing I want to add, my feeling is there's a few just fear frequencies, I call it fear frequencies. Frequencies clouded by fear, left to just clear.
For sure, man. I'll just take it from them, man. Be a shining one upon them. Because this is also the thing, though. Like, trust me, this is not the New Age Namaste, Love, and Light conversation. Me and you both know that. To actually shine, all the chakras must turn. And this is what we're working on. And we're working on reconstructing these wheels. And we're doing it now. But the reality is that many of these energies don't seem approachable when an individual only has so much gone. So let's make it really clear. It's like I had a deep metaphor for this, but if you really think about it, when you go in, that's what I was going to say, compassion, right? Because see, the more you open up, and you can see this through the chemical synthesis with the dopamine and the melanin. The more that you open up, the more less and less starts to seem ugly to you. Okay? And you may have experienced this somewhat if you've tried other substances before. But the more that you open up, after a while, you get completely open, you go with the flow. Now there's a danger to this, and this is unfortunate, right? Because before there was no danger to this. Like, people need to understand the chronological order in which things happen. Before, everyone was open because there was no danger to be open. Now, after the schism, it is a danger to be too open. You go being too nice, you do have people that'll just take advantage of you, right? No matter what path you're on, it's like, I don't know how that can be, because if you're on the right path, you shouldn't run into those kind of people. Come on, stop it. That just sounds good. The truth is a path, and there's many lambs on the path, meaning there's different things that seek to get you off the path because they are actually not on the path. And then you come across them, yes, when you start wandering off the path. And wandering can happen in a day. It can happen with the change of a pH balance. And this is what the ancient teachers knew. They knew even certain substances, you're going to be starting over again on the chakra again after that. So this is the kind of things that if we really want to climb the tree, in which is if we're climbing anything, that means the ladder was built first. Right? So this means that we don't actually have to do all of the work. Kind of quite the contrary. The approach generally from people these days now that are teaching knowledge is, I can't believe I'm the only one, and this and this and this, and how much longer am I going to be able to do this? And they're not even realizing what the ancestors went through in the netherworld to put this entire thing together, but that was still you, though. And the ability to know that was where your power was. See, that's why every living organism, especially the one that survived to this point, knows what it was before, so it knows what it's going to become. Because it has the strength from what it was before. Like when you hear about your grand lineage from the ocean and planets, and you just keep stacking this stuff up behind you, even the big guys and the small ones, and you, instead of facing them like this, they all join in behind you, and then you collapse them all like Russian dolls. That's what some people will say, well, what happens to the soul when you die? And they talk about that there's a particular part that it starts making there's a small part, it makes its way back to the soul, okay? That pure essence part is making its way back. But guess what? The reason why most people are not aware of this or can't be aware of this is because of false knowledge. But if you attached yourself to truth, when that part of the body rose, because when a person dies, they give out that last breath. That breath is the soul in that breath. When that thing starts to rise, if you are in a containment of knowledge that can withstand the sphere, which is the etherics, okay? Should be a new subject in college. If you can withstand the fields of etherics, then you make it into the ground form. You pass over into this subjective plane of hypersentience to continue your adventure there. And again, no one can explain to you about this place because it's unlimited. And so but it's called boundless. And that's why let that be our mantra in our minds, that when our minds begin to wander, because you got to wander, because you got to watch the mind. It starts to wander. It goes off into other things and it tries to tap into emotion. Then it turns a wheel. Once it turns a wheel, then for every action, there's a reaction. And here you go. You see what I mean? So this whole thing, this containment of your energy and proper use of your energy is the key to your emancipation into higher dimensions of your own state of consciousness. But guess what? It's implosion. So if you're looking for some shuttle to come, if you're looking to drive off with some other being through some rabbit hole or whatever, that's not where you should be looking. We know 100% that you should be looking within, and that any ship that shows up is yours. I'm not saying you don't have one, but if anyone does show up, it's yours, and it's because you went to get it. That is the power of the adept. The adept knows that it will not find anything outside, truly. Like it will not actually, like when you're looking for something to happen, I want this massive thing to, and then when you're doing that, the adept knows that's not how you do it. You have to actually put it inside. So the first thing is to get the information about what it is that you're actually trying to do. We talked about that with the lady earlier about, centering the mind and at least getting that solace and firewalling things for a moment, then figure out your projection. And then from that point, that's when you get into this next stage of actually emancipating yourself into what you want to do because you're serious, aka dolphin face. This is at a point where you actually do have an agenda here on the planetary system and something that you're trying to get accomplished. And as far as its limitations, it actually involves entire world emancipation, because I will actually debunk right now the idea that the entire world can't emancipate, because I had to debunk it for myself. I was going on rough times during the last pole shift, which was a couple weeks ago. I was going through rough times, and I was like, man, I don't know, Sevan. Maybe you're burning a lot of energy because you're talking about the whole world being saved. What about just the frequency of the bridge? Because 528 hertz is the harmonic of communication. If you just stay on that, then you could just remain as the bridge, because you continuously go into 172 hertz and 998 hertz and all these other frequencies where you're encountering all these different forms. You got to ask yourself, how long can you really do that before you actually run into something or it maybe tires you out? And this is that. And so I'm sitting there like, would you just shut up? But anyway, I'm listening. So then, obviously, it seeps in, it starts getting into the skin, and then you say, yeah, man, so how long? Because this always happens during a pole shift. And a pole shift always occurs as a knockdown somewhat of your vibratory frequency or your overall immune and protection system. But this is to see if under all of that armor, you're still a man or a woman. You see what I mean? So this is what happened. So I sat around for a few hours, actually calculating exactly the percentage of people that I wanted to save in the world to get the projection a little bit more better. Then, as I was in the kitchen, all of a sudden it came to me. It came in a strange way, but I'll take it. It said, did Apple change the world? And what are you talking about? Did Apple change the world? Did those Apple computers change the world? And I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, we're living in an entirely different world because of these damn computers, right? The PCs and all that, when they came in, the whole world changed, right? And then it said, there it is there. That's it there. Just go ahead and lock in right there on that energy. Go ahead and beam that thing up out of there. We got what we need. I'm talking to some people now. You got what you need right there. Just boom. You have actually a moment where the actual frequency that is necessary, meaning the actual moment and point, not the derivative of it, but the actual moment and point of creating something that actually changed the world was present at that moment. For a Time Lord, you can go to that moment and extract that energy from that moment. And then be right in the center of the consciousness and ready to develop something that metamorphosizes the world into the greater levels of spiritual projection. Because it's just unfortunate, or maybe fortunate, depending upon what side of time you're standing on, that the individuals that developed the machine did not have the next vision for where it was going to go. Flynn didn't project his vision. You know, obviously, Flynn and the gentleman who owns Apple have a very deep connection, but we won't get into that right now, because that's the character that they're projecting as Flynn. So, someone said they thought it was 512 hertz. No, it is 528 hertz. Cornucopic field convex triangles, 528 hertz third eye HUD. This pattern by itself, when electrified, or if it's actually created with something that resonates, or coded with something that resonates, creates a portal of communication, because all fields merge. On 528 hertz, when you hit the sine wave and you get your Shalani played out there, you'll find this same pattern appears. So that's what I gotta check things by these days, because some people just throw numbers out there and I gotta go to the cymatic and actually look at the cymatic and see what its application is. Not to mention, you can also get the cymatic software application, which is deep levels of French. So, Mike, I'm going to go ahead and let some other people get on the line and take a couple more calls. And then I think that the download, upload, whatever you want to call it, is pretty straight for today. Like, we got a lot of people really, really into some deeper levels of themselves. So definitely from here, they only should have to look into their direct environment, not out-environment, and start being able to do some spring cleaning.
Wholeness.
All right, brother, wholeness. I'm telling you, you guys think it's a joke about that whole frequency thing, man, because remember, like, my whole goal today was just come in and answer questions. I was going to play the hot seat, and we weren't going to get, I don't know, I never make too many massive projections, but Mike calls in, boom, all of a sudden, transmission. So 501 area code. I'm opening the lines now. I'm getting a little spinning wheel over here. So just give it a moment and it should open the line. Man, what if all of the publications on TV were like this? Like, you flip to one channel and this guy, boom, 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 boom. He's even out there building the structure. He's got the whole module out there. He's got the body just laid out on the ground. He's like, okay, this is the communication portal. We're using this kind of crystal, and we went ahead and did this. Like, y'all don't let me do everything, man. I'm on my way to all of that. Like, I have it all lined up. And I'm bringing some massive individuals with me, too. Some anchors, too. Some that have been holding things down, like they're transmuting. Like, people, like, this is real. Like, nobody is trying to get stuck in this. I'm telling you. Win something, see something better. This is at that point where the two opposing worlds cross and meet each other for that moment before they say, okay, day, all right, night. It's day watch, night watch, right? That there's a point where there's an interchanging and they cross each other. What if they stayed? What if the end married the beginning, what if the end and the beginning resolved their relationship? What if positive and negative decided to just, realize their actual position with each other, see that they've been in it for across time, and decide to merge it, and then really make it a donut rather than a spiral? We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to take another call here. It looks like, I'm trying to open up the calls, but there's so many of them coming through. So let me just wait a moment and let me just clear some things, and then I'm going to go ahead and take some calls. Wonderful message today, but remember, there's Catherine's message coming out on, I believe, Tuesday. She's going to have that on YouTube. I'll also, of course, post it to my page, so look out for that. And that message, again, is 4 hours of this, but piece by piece by piece. It's like, remember how these conversations work. There's always like some kind of preliminary stage, whether you've got a chance to hear it or not. Sometimes not really, because it's a little rough. If I was letting you guys hear the rough stuff, sometimes it'd be like, oh, I didn't know because you have to sometimes stretch the mind in order for you to start realizing, okay, I got more space. Let's lay all this out on the floor. Okay, I can see where those pieces go now. So you do that with your mind, and to do that, you have to stretch it. So let me see here if we can take a call. This time with 951 area code. Yeah, it opened. So 951, you are on the air, Wholeness.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, James?
This is James.
Hey, how you doing, man? Wholeness.
Wholeness.
Man, I was just calling, man. I had a couple questions, man.
Let's do it.
One of the questions, man, I've been watching you, man, for about, man, probably like since January, man, but before you, I was studying, you know, multiple different people,
Okay.
and you was the first person that, you know, let me know that I had to start eating right in order to reach some of these higher levels. And, you know, I haven't been able to really get my diet together. I bought a colon cleansing kit, and I did everything. I'm still having a bad problem with my stomach, but it hasn't stopped me from getting some of these light codes and some of this information, some of this knowledge about, you know, the world around me or the nature around me, because I consistently study and I consistently get my heart right and I consistently get my mind right to a whole nother level. So I was just wondering, as a black man out here in one of the lower class communities with not a lot of money in my pocket, I don't have, you know, a lot to basically go out and buy the necessary things that I want to use or what I want to do right now. So I feel that I'm only 22 years old right now, so I do feel that completion is in sight. You know, that I'm going to reach the point that, you know, it's nothing that's going to stop me at this point. But I just wanted to know if you have any tips, you know, for me as far as my body aspect, because my spirit, you know, I feel that my heart is expanding to heights that I've never even, you know, seen, and my mind is the type of mind that I've only seen in people like you, honestly. Nice. So, but my body is definitely a problem. I wake up a lot of mornings with stomach problems, and I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm not able to emancipate myself, but I am able to receive a lot of light codes, a lot of just different things that, you know, is in the field of the things that you're talking about, but it's not the exact same, you know, revelations.
Yeah,
so,
but you know, it all lines up. But yeah, brother, I mean, I definitely have some advice for you, because I was looking into this thing, because it's called the matrix shake. Because also remember, like what I did is that when I had gone to that point of solace and I had turned the whole thing around, liquidated the life completely, my whole goal was to live on like about $250 a month. That's what, you know, and I don't want people to try to come down to Costa Rica $250 and think they can do it, because you got to be built strong. Like, you have to have full confidence. But I wanted to press it down as much as possible, because I needed that time to actually, you know, I could calculate, okay, if I got 20 grand, if I'm paying $250 a month, this means I could stay, two and a half years before I even have to start worrying about paying rent again, right? So this is kind of my approach to my great escape. And so what happened is that it wasn't, as I turned the energy around, it wasn't but a few weeks before I started seeing current just coming back at me, and I was just getting ideas of different things to do in the country and getting involved with the internet and different things that people were doing, right? But here's the interesting thing, as I'm just telling you the success story. I started looking into this thing called matrix shake. And I'm actually going to put, just for this phone call, because there's already one out there, and what I want to do now is I want to double check this, and then I want to see if it can be enhanced or if it even needs to be enhanced. Because again, we got people that are building on their own levels, and they have these concerns, and they are ready to go. Because even right now, I'm not even really eating that much. Like, you could ask my wife, and it's because I just have this thing, like, when I eat the food, I'm tired of food. Like, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, I understand completely. It gets to the point where I feel I'm only eating just so I don't die.
Right, exactly. So obviously you do have to sustain yourself. And I remember, this is also a stair-stepping thing, and I'm just talking, of course, because I'm on the line, so we're talking to a general audience. But because a lot of people are still like, I need to get my food, so we can't address that directly. But then also still realize that it does become a point where even when you're preparing the goji berries and you're preparing the eggplants and you're preparing all this kind of stuff and you're soaking these sprouts in, and that's why a lot of people just went into enzymes, like the ones that are in the more advanced state of consciousness, they sprout all of their stuff. They just basically buy these seeds, and the seeds are very low cost, okay? This stuff, you could buy just a whole bag of these seeds, but this stuff is, it needs a little bit of water, especially if you have some good water. And then I'm just having a brilliant idea when I'm just thinking about this whole thing right now, man, because I'm wondering what agronomics possibilities really are on sprouts, but that's just a sidebar. But anyway, if you can if you can get these sprouts, which we'll start sourcing some links after the call, because there's a lot of people I know that have this data already ready for copy and paste. These sprouts are like $4 or $5 tops. You get tons of them. And then you just put them in this sprout pan, and then you put the little water in and you set them out in the sun. Within 2 days, they've already sprouted. And these are raw enzymes. They call these super microgreens. And then when you put this into the system, oh my goodness, like, you'll be doing the show. And then here's another thing, like, serious, like, it's not a game. Like, if I could get to, like, I just have to, it's something that you do have to put some intention into. And because I have a lot of things going on, a lot of times I don't get a chance to sprout some super microgreens. But after this phone call today, I think it was even a message to me of, you know, what I need to be actually doing. Because, like I said, I'm getting tired of the quinoas. I'm getting tired of preparing things. And I'm like, it's not really that big of a deal with me. But for those that it is a big deal, remember, it's crawling before you walk. First, the junk food vegetarian. Just let the meat go. You still do potatoes, whatever. Then self-substantiate to your next level of things and go ahead and start backing down the cooked foods. So everyone's heard that whole process before, but here's one part in it. There is that whole shake smoothie part, okay? And this is where you get a chance to, like, you can even do it with the microgreens. You can eat them like they are right there, but if you feel like you're making so much of them that you need to, like, do something else with them, there's a way to dry them out in the sun, and then you can grind them. Even with the old pistol and mortar, you can grind them into a powder. And this is what protein is. Like, people think that the protein shakes and all this stuff that they're seeing, they're buying from these different places are not, that are something else, but they're not. They're all these sprouts, sprouted, dried out, grinded down, and all that stuff turns into powder. Like, it's so interesting because even when I saw that for the first time, I just realized how ignorant I was to agriculture. This is, of course, years ago, but agriculture, to how things are developed. And I was like, wait a minute, because I'm thinking if this thing is like a sprout, it ain't going to be a powder because it's too wet. And it's like, no, you can just dry these things out, they dehydrate, then they crumble down, and then they make this powder, and then that powder becomes your protein shake. So that's what I would advise you to look into, brothers. Definitely look into the sprouts, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of clearance on there, and then you'll have your supplements there, because then what happens is that when you do have to engage in some of the foods that are in your environment, you can easily burn up those foods. You see what I mean? Because you've created in your system natural enzymes. You've created basically a system that, and then it'll soothe your system, because it'll patch many of the actual ulcers or agitated areas of the acidic parts of your stomach, because there's a high acidic nature to the food. And so that's where your stomach aches and things are probably coming from, because of just the acidic nature and how your body is processing that, especially early in the morning, because that's when you feel it most, especially if you don't put something on your stomach in the morning. And the other thing you need to understand is also the anger that comes with that. Because when your stomach is grouchy, man, you're grouchy, whether you peeped it or not. Like, I've obviously peeped it, but your attitude changes based on the atmosphere of your stomach, because the atmosphere of the stomach, of course, is really controlling a great deal of our consciousness through the gonads. So that's it.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed that I get easily depressed when I wake up with my stomach on the wrong side.
Indeed. Some may experience depression, some anger, etc.
Okay. One more question. Let me see if I can hold on to it. I've been meditating for a while now. I actually started taking meditation serious probably about maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And I can just come out and say I've broken out before. I've broken out maybe 5 times before, just doing different things other than just meditating. But now I'm at the point where I'm trying to break out with just meditating alone. And I have reached points. I do reach points where I have reached my oversoul, and my oversoul is commuting information to me. And I have reached points where, but I haven't reached a point where I can see anything yet. It's complete darkness. And I'm trying to get to the point. You have any, I know you give techniques all the time, but, I heard you say that, there's actual tones you can induce that you wouldn't put on the radio or, things like that. But I'm actually at that point where I feel I'm at the edge of breaking out. So any last, tips or anything about my meditation?
For sure. Obviously, you really need to check and see if in the whole body breathing, you're actually feeling vivid phenomena behind your breath, because this is basically the poor man's guide to being high, oxygen. and there's a technique. And if I need to do another video because the other one is too old or you didn't understand it from that video that's on the site, just let me know because I'm just ready to do something new. But the reality is that when you're breathing in the whole body breathing way, do not get it twisted that meditation is just there being still and silent and there's no feeling of energetics, right? That's way later on when you're actually sitting there and you're basically tapped into another zone. The body's energetics are so high, it feels like nothing's turned on, okay? And it's just like a pure pipeline of energy, but that's very graduated, okay? So in the beginning, there has to be this vivid feeling that when you're pushing air into your diaphragm, into your stomach through the reverse breathing process, that you actually get into this woozy state somewhat. And you don't want to induce this too much, but this is where you're already starting to use the proper training to vividly be aware of when you're crossing into another stage of consciousness. So to make it very clear, there's a standing up way of whole body breathing. So this is a technique. I'm not sure if you're aware of the whole body breathing yet. There's a standing up way. There's a sitting down way. There's a laying down way. And all these ways are so that during different levels of idle time, laying in the bed, washing dishes, sitting down somewhere, you can still be breathing, aka dolphin, because you have to be the power. You'll know how far you are from your power to how many breaths you remember that you're taking during the day, okay? So the other thing is that that should be enough for now. Like, because I did have one more thing, and I probably will think about it in just a moment. But just follow those pointers again, because so the whole body breathing. Okay, yeah, the master's pose. See, I always try to take the master's pose out of there. The master's pose is a whole nother level, because what happens is that as you start feeling the power of the breath, maybe I could do the master's pose here. You'll know how I'm sitting, but the master's pose is like this. Let me see, the camera's right here. Okay. It's like this, but the bed is right here, and obviously there's some carpet or a pillow or something down here because this is very uncomfortable for your knees. But this connection between the knees and the ground is a very high connection for bypassing the nether world that is in between the knees and the feet to build energy faster. Also, it protects you from falling, meaning that after you realize the power of breath, you realize that it's about riding the line. This is how a lucid dreamer knows a lot about this. You can't actually grab the dream too much because it'll go away. And obviously you can't actually get into the dream too much because you'll lose consciousness that you're in the dream. So we call this riding the wave. So to be trained to ride the wave, where that really comes from is that comes from you being able to actually keep in between your consciousness. And that's why most people's advent into meditation is sleep, meaning that they go to meditate and they fall asleep. Especially when they start listening to young Ram, and they'd be like, and it's over. So, and then, of course, there's supposed to be a master there that just thwacks you like, yo, the whole goal here is for you to reach Sananabal. Sananabalism is like the stage between wake and sleep where you actually are conscious of your spirit body moving about, and then you're actually being able to control it and extend into it. So, that's what's up. So matrix shake, whole body breathing, sprouts, and you're in the game.
I got it all down, man. Hey, I just want to say, I appreciate everything you're doing and everything that I'm learning. I'm taking it and soaking up, because I do feel there will be a point where I'm actually, in the same field of doing what you're doing and helping the world in a way that I can expand people also. So I just want to let you know it's not going unnoticed. It's not going unseen. And we may not talk again for a couple of years, but I do plan on making some moves. You inspire me, tenfold to get out here and save this world.
Man, that sounds excellent, man. To me, man, that's all I need to hear. It would just be me and you on the line. Like, people just, as long as one person is there, I'm going to be there. And even when there was no person, I realized there was everybody. And this is a big thing that I really just want to tell everyone, that you're not alone out here. You took a breath just now. Even that breath, that's an energy right there. And that energy has never left you. Those are the primordials. Those are where the most power is in the elementals. Those are really forces. And those forces we are dependent upon as we're dependent upon our parents. Whoa, look at this one. Anyway, brother, I want to definitely say wholeness and balance vibration to you, and for calling in, man. You really do make me feel special. And then also you inspired me today to look deeper into Matrix Shake and get a solution for the brothers that are out there that are self-substantiating themselves and also dealing with the challenges of the current that they currently are in. So that's what's up, man.
Man, it's just feeling real good talking to you, man. I hope I hear from you again soon.
Oh, for sure. You know how to get me.
My name's Monte, man, by the way.
Okay, Monte. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. I love you.
All right. Hey, man, I love you too. I think it was supposed to say you love me, man. I love that. Anyway, lots of love going on here, man. That's what this is all about. As we keep expanding through our consciousness, we keep bringing everyone in closer. We begin that love and compassion. Like that's when you get to a point of when you can actually go and you can get real into it and you can be real with it, then you know it's working for you. Like, and this is a constant cycle for me. And I already know there's going to be a point where I'm just going to be out there in the field most of the time. I'm just going to be dealing with the people and putting my hands into this earth and really getting emancipated. But I know it's going to happen because of brothers like what you just heard right now. Because, you know, a wise man said, you don't got to worry about me. You don't got to worry about me. You got to worry about the people that are listening to me. That's the truth. And it's because many people can take where you've taken it. And that's what we were talking about. You use someone else's invention to create something that you did, that you do next, and it's even more of an expansion. And we're all doing it. Like I'm sitting here looking at your monitor, I'm looking at, the cameras, but I'm bringing something else. And these were the channels that we're using. These hosted this. Even the fan over here is hosting that. So then and this is another key. I'm not sure if I mentioned it the previous show, but what respect really was about, it wasn't about kissing ass. What it was about is everyone knew that they were powerful. So the only other gesture would be respect. Because anything beyond that would mean a challenge. And so that's where you see in these ancient cultures that there's a constant bowing down to each other, not to the gods and the ancestors, yes, because there was a mutual respect. It's like, I already know you put your foot in this. There's a big pyramid out there. It's like, okay, yeah, you laid down the foundation and things, and that there was a mutual respect. It was never, oh my God can beat your God, and then I'll slam in the face and use this, and so that's what we're mending. That's what we're repairing. Okay. So here we go. Last call, area code 315. Caller, you're on Astral Quest.
Hello?
Yep.
Hi, is this Sevan?
Yes, it is.
Hey, you're talking about emancipation, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. I was just so quiet. I'm sorry. Anyways, I was listening to you here talking about emancipation, and this is where we got really tricked, because when you emancipate somebody, you're not really making them free. When you study the word and you find out what it really means, actually what's happening is the entity that is emancipating you, like when Lincoln emancipated the slaves, he didn't make them free, he just became their parent and made them all federal children.
Right. Okay.
They didn't become free at all.
Okay.
Manumission
so let me explain.
is how freedom is.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Let me just explain this very briefly, because there's no one who knows more than what all these words mean than me, that I know, because that's all I do is I just look at it and turn around words. But here's the issue. All of what you just said, and all of what I just said, if I did not have a frequency and intention behind it for people to really feel me to what I'm talking about, it was all void and incorrect anyway, because the language, if you really have looked into this language from the Decimal Dema script, you understand that everything you're saying actually means something different and is firing off symbols into the reality that are creating things for something else. So I can do that with all of the words, but guess what? I wouldn't even be able to talk to anybody. So that's why some people don't talk. But the correct word, because I'm glad you did define emancipation for people, because that does have some very subterfuging connotations. But the word is self-substantiation. Like, this is the word that we've actually been using to usurp emancipation. Because self-substantiation, still realizing all is self, though, because you still run back into this conundrum where you'll find someone else that is still hosting your ability to keep thriving. You see what I mean? Because the water is doing it. It just removes who has taken that position and said, oh, I'm the emancipator. I'm the generator. I'm the one that is giving, I'm the regulator, right? And then, but when the being that is doing that is in that place. First of all, they don't even need to say it because everyone realizes that, right? But the reality is that what we're dealing with is we're dealing with a stage swap in a certain tense where you have these other, even humans saying, I'm the emancipator, when water is the real emancipator. You see what I mean? So I won't close the book at all on something that has still the matching of terms of an emancipator being something benevolent to humanity rather than malevolent. But I will say that the individuals who have usurped those benevolent positions through the language have definitely done it and will be held accountable for what they've been doing. So, because at the end of the day, I have to end up taking it and twisting it and bending it into my favor. Because if it doesn't end up, if I can't dissolve it, you see what I mean? If I can't, everything, and this is also the key to forgiveness, because what you're really dealing with is if you can actually do that, even with the words, you know, how you dissect them and pull them apart and make them mean something different and truly mean that, then in the past when something has occurred where you feel like it's actually led to where you are today and you're not comfortable with where you are, you can't see that point in the past as actually the catalyst to where you really want to be. You see what I mean? So these are two things that actually have to happen simultaneously before there's a connection between all things, and then all of these codes and these riddles within these words start to dissolve within the true meaning, and you dance around the words with eloquence, but still keeping in tune, because obviously the goal is to send the transmission to people, not for myself. I should actually know what I'm talking about. Notice any real teacher, and we'll just say it in that term, any real teacher actually knows what they're actually teaching everyone else already, right? And so, but the issue here is that real teachers haven't really been amongst everyone, because there's another thing with teaching, it's patience. It's knowing not to try to teach algebra to someone who doesn't know basic math. So that's how I came in this, a young ram coming in the China house, breaking everything down, meaning that every single word, like I couldn't even talk after a while because I had already destroyed all the words to talk with. And then what happened was that, you know, there was like, okay, pat on the back, like you did good at first, but now you got to go back in there and you got to realize that just because you said it like it is, it doesn't mean everyone heard you. So as your work, your integral work with them, learn how to utilize what has been given to them and to actually begin to mold them into a higher stage of consciousness. If this is your work, if this is what you do, I can just as soon as open strip clubs. Like, well, another person may open strip clubs and nobody will ever say anything to them. Then when a person comes in to try to emancipate somebody, let's say it in that way, all of a sudden the emancipator is the enemy. So this is something strange, a phenomenon going on. I don't mind any person coming in and assisting in me with getting things to the next level and emancipating something. What I do have a problem with, though, is something that is saying that it's doing that and it's not really doing that. Because I can recognize in nature, brother, that there's some emancipators here. But I recognize them as water, air, these kind of things. Because despite our naughtiness at times and hard-headedness at times, water didn't stop. But, you know, for some people it did, though. You see what I mean? So this is where the greater levels of respect come in. But I just have to deal with what I'm being given. To me, all of the words, right? If you're adept, you know the deal with all of the words. The words are marks. They're like knives themselves. They serve to cut, shape, form, and fashion something that otherwise is limitless into something that is limited, thus giving us a description. So whether it's Waqbadadin or emancipator, it's still going to be the same thing to a Time Lord, because they know once you utter the words, and this is why when you get into this other stage of consciousness, right, you know not to say anything. Because the moment you say something, it just flies out of your mouth and it starts to form into some manifestation. And this is when you really see that the words don't do nothing like what we think that they do. And the only thing that we have that is not allowing those things to spread into something or have complete life and animate themselves is our intention. Because we don't intend at times to say the things that we say. And this is no different than when you get into a conflict or an argument with a loved one or someone that you're in a relationship with. Sometimes you say things you don't mean to say. And then you could take it back because your intentions is that you apologize. And so those who have strong intentions can even be in other worlds where, if you go into other languages, these languages evoke things. And the people evoke stronger entities that are more apparent to deal with and that are desensitizing. You see, there's certain languages that are completely desensitizing, right? And so that's what I'm saying. It's like this language thing is a lot more to dance around, because if you can't introduce a new language, or at least have a language or crossover language or a bridge language, to us, really the bridge is to be able to really interpret the words like you did when you got on today, and then be able to realize the ramifications that all the words may be backwards, that they're not in the actual right direction. And then the next level is to actually be able to turn the words back around so that they actually, in the tense that you put them in, have power based on the intention that you're giving to them. So they're like blocks then. Obviously, when you're talking about massive levels of your own projection, you're not talking. Like, you're utilizing the mind, right? You're projecting with the frontal lobe and all of the things that are tied into that. But we still have to realize, like, some of these people that are on the line, which I have a great deal of respect for, even if some may call them sheeple at times. I always say the sheeple is my people. The reality is that, man, some are on base world language. Like, you'll have to go in talking Ebonics and different levels of gutter dialect before you're even going to get a pass. So I just see it as this benefit, though, to be able to metamorphosize into that level of the bridge, to be able to bring it to them. But obviously, if you come in there with, actually, brother, what you just said didn't even mean the right thing. I remember one time when I first come out of the portal, man, this dude tried to shake my hand, and I gave him the left hand. I gave him the right hand, excuse me, I gave him the left hand, and he said, "What the?" And I said, "Yeah, man, the right hand's the wrong hand." And he said, "Man, where did you get that from?" I said, "Man, everything here is backwards. The words are backwards." And then look, sure enough,
this is one of the things, Sevan, how they hold you into your slavery, into your mental bondage, because I'm not saying you as in you, but what they do is how it happens is you're tricked into believing certain things, and through phonics is how all of these spells are cast against us.
For sure.
Now, when you're emancipated, the only way that you can be emancipated is to get your freedom from somebody else. When you're manumitted, that's because you took your freedom and you stood up for your responsibility of you, and you took it. It's a lot. It goes along with the guidelines of the emancipation would be on the masculine side. Mm-hmm. Manumission would be on the feminine side, because once you realize who you are, what you are, now you have to nurture that. Once you understand your strength, so now there comes and start understanding the way that these words are formed and the way what each individual letter within the word means. They're all symbols, and they're all on different frequencies. And through emancipation, all you're doing is entering another form of slavery. Through manumission, you are truly free and responsible for yourself.
Indeed.
And that's all I want to bring to the table to you today.
For sure. And now I'm sure everyone received that information. All right, brother.
Now, when you further look at this, the phonics of all of this whole Babylonian system that we're under, it's all done through frequency and phonics. It's the old Phoenician law over and over and over again. So if you want to be manumitted, better be ready for the responsibility that comes along with it, and nurture yourself into your freedom.
For sure.
I love you, brother, and
all right,
keep
brother.
doing good. I've been listening to you for the last several years, and it's the first time I ever spoke with you. But I really love you, and I appreciate what you're doing with people and how you're opening folks' eyes all across the world.
Man, I
Keep
greatly
up the
appreciate
good work,
it,
brother.
And
God bless
greatly
you, and I love you.
And also dropping those jewels.
You have a good day, young man.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, so y'all got it from the one who broke it down. Actually, E means to stop. Okay, so E-man would be the stop man, and we can get there right away. So maybe stopping from becoming the adept. But we can write volumes on this language And that's why I said, only thing we have now is to use it in our favor. When a person is ready to graduate to the next stage of the language and utilizing the right words, which really end up being tones and vibrations, then end up being intonations, nothing pronounced out of the mouth, and then end up being solace and silence, meaning no thought, no idea, zone. That's the process. All right, so that is it today. Wow, man. I'm just like, the reason why everyone you guys keep seeing me go like this, I'm just checking audio levels and all sorts of stuff, because I'm like, man, the transmission's begin so potent. I have to make sure there's some kind of redundification system around here, or 3 or 4 redundification systems in coming into this message. Like, I did plan to get in here to just do some, to answer some questions, and we really went in even more. And so I'm very appreciative for everything that everyone has done. I'm going to go ahead and get this, get these audios chopped up right and ready for other people to listen, especially those that are just coming in. And yeah, is there anything else that I can think of? Let me look at my thing, because I meant to complete the transmission today. I do believe it's complete, but I do want to check my notes just really briefly to make sure I did cover everything. Yeah, it looks like we covered everything. All right, so wholeness and balance vibration, everyone, and I will see you not next Sunday, but the Sunday after, and then hopefully in between there'll definitely be a lot more updates. You can just check out my Facebook page, I guess, or check out the website. I got a new site coming up called secretenergy.com. I'm just playing with it. Like, I'm having a little problem with the way that the website is actually set up on the back end, but it is coming up. And what that is that's just a site that I come across a lot of stuff. Well, I come across everything in real time, and I've been wanting to share it right away. And sometimes I have to package it up the right way and things like that if I want to put it into the resistance. Plus, as I mentioned on the previous recording, I really like for the people that are interacting with the resistance and all the progressive builds that are going on together to be about just individuals that are there. Sometimes even just your character can change things. So I kind of keep myself out of just the whole mix of what's going on in the forums and blogs, because I'm very, the forums, because I'm very personally enlightened by what is written there and how different people come into their level and aspect of their own illumination or enlightenment, etc. And so what I wanted to say is that, so what Secret Energy is that I'm going to be designing that as a site where I'm just going to be hosting a lot of this information in real time to how the world is changing into whatever direction is going in. And so that way we get more adept at understanding what situations we need to neutralize and what situations we need to project on in real time. And so that's my personal endeavor on that. And so, yeah, you know what it is with me. I have a hard time saying goodbye. So wholeness and balance vibration to everyone, and I will talk to you soon.